This is a Taurus full moon. Venus is the ruler of Taurus. I'm going to get into how love and money and our psychology are all in the mix right now, as well as important dates coming up right away after this full moon. We have Mercury retrograde and a few other things that are a significant piece. A Taurus full moon is going to bring up topics around love, pleasure, security, earthly things that we enjoy, food, nourishment. How do we nourish our energy? How do we take care of ourselves? How do we find security in this world? With the sun in Scorpio in opposition to this moon, the sun is going to be amplifying energy of our subconscious, potentially our fears, things that we can't look at every single day. We need to do Taurus-like things and Virgo-like things. We need to live in this earthly, practical world and go to work and make money and enjoy the moments that are in front of us. That's really, really important. So with Scorpio, we have this capacity to still be in tune with all of the energy of our systems, but we have it underneath several layers. And there are moments in astrology where these layers are activated and they bring things to the surface that are not in front of our face every single day, like what we're afraid of. Particularly with a full moon in Taurus, it's going to relate to fears around security and love and pleasure. If there are subconscious patterns about deserving these things, about deserving pleasure in this world, we all have that to some degree. We were all told we can't have something. We were all told we have to work to get something. And those things are true. But there are subconscious messages that get stored and become dysfunctional in our lives or limit us from really going after what we want, from trusting in our ability to work hard towards what we want, for trusting in our ability to be stable, because that's what the Taurus part of our charts is going to speak about. Venus is the ruler of this full moon, and Venus is in its other home sign of Libra, and it's been there for about a month. This Venus in Libra energy has been showing us situations where we are trying to find balance within relationships, with self and other, with how much we devote to other people, how much we listen, and as well with Taurus-like topics. Where is our money going? What makes us feel a sense of security and stability in a world that's also unstable? That's what Scorpio shows us, is that there's an important process of instability, and that is about transformation. It's about constant change and going through these cycles of building and growth, and then decay and decomposition, going back into the earth to provide that energy for, once again, a new Taurus growth cycle of what nourishes us. This is a time in Scorpio to not fear going into some of the uncomfortable depths of our psyche, of our souls, of what feels uncomfortable in our bodies. The fear in Scorpio can often relate to a sense of feeling of death, because that is also the 8th house, and that's what Scorpio rules: birth, death, rebirth, transformation. But I just want to emphasize how important the death process is, how important decay is in the world, and how natural that is in our lives. It's something that's even celebrated in some countries with Halloween. This is an energy of not fearing some of the normal transformational processes of life, and not fearing ourselves. Venus, at the time of this full moon, has just come out of a separating square from Jupiter. This conjunction started August 11th, and this is a separating square that might have some themes similar to August 11th. And shortly after this moon, Venus is coming into an exact square with Pluto. This energy looks like something around Venus-like topics: money, love, connection, self-love, pleasure, art, beauty. When Jupiter comes in with a square, it is exaggerated in sometimes a way that doesn't feel healthy. When we move into the square to Pluto, we'll have this wave of going through heightened Venusian topics. How do we create balance around those things? And it's through an imbalance. It's when Jupiter comes in and spikes that wave of Venusian energy that we recalibrate. And Pluto is going to be an automatic release for a lot of people, an automatic purging of something that we thought we valued about ourselves, about other people, about money, security, beauty, and we just naturally let it go with transits like this. And it's that natural letting go process that can bring up the uncomfortable fears. So again, that's why I just want to emphasize how much we could take the opportunity to go into these moments of scorpionic depths of emotion, find the space to not fear it and really go through that cycle. The purging is going to be that much better. There are going to be so many new activations coming up in December, January, and onward. So the more we purge right now and the more we let go of something from the past, the quicker we're going to feel that sense of relief. Another thing at the time of this full moon on November 6th is that Mars and Mercury are now in Sagittarius in opposition to Uranus. This can be uncomfortable communication, thoughts that come out of nowhere. Regulating our thoughts and paying attention to our thoughts for this full moon could be a really important process of elevating to a more intuitive, divinely connected mental space. But it could come from some agitation with Mars here. And then on November 11th, Mercury is going to start its retrograde back into Scorpio. This close travel that Mars and Mercury have been doing have really been heating up the contributions of our mind, our thoughts, our words, and how that affects the motivation that we have with Mars, the frustration that we experience. When it's in Scorpio, where it can be more about fear. We still have the sun here, so this is where I've been talking about an extended Scorpio season. Mercury is then, on November 11th, going to start its backtrack into Scorpio. The things that we've been going through since the Libra new moon and this current full moon are going to be revisited in some way, and then go forward in December. December 1st, Mercury will start its station direct. And by December 11th, we're in the clear for forward motion. This is great for those of you who celebrate Christmas. Sometimes we have a Mercury retrograde during Christmas, and that can be a nuisance with all of the gatherings and festivities that happen around then. So Mercury retrograde starting on November 11th, give yourself this space to go back over past detail, writing and projects. It's not about launching right now from November 11th until December 11th. It's about processing, organizing, learning as much as we can. Jupiter is also going to retrograde the very next day on November 12th. This is going to slow down this overdoing as well. So we're going to be feeling a lot more chill energy in November, but that can also be a time when we start to feel more. We start to go through more of an internal process rather than an outward forward motion. These can be times not of frustration, but of really important self-reorganization. So if you can use it for that, all that much better. Be patient with yourself if things don't feel like they're moving forward. It's going to be like that for everyone. With all of this Pisces extra energy too, we have Saturn and Neptune back in Pisces, and Jupiter is currently in trine to that, amplifying that last little bit of cycle of Pisces energy in your chart. And that's going to be about where you want to escape into bliss versus focus on what's constructive with your intuition and your ability to energetically create. There's going to be a nuance at this point in these transits where we have already gone through some of the bigger awarenesses that we need to gain from Saturn and Neptune and Pisces. And now we're just going to see how to finesse it, how to bring that Saturnian productive quality into what is intangible, very intuitive, very beautiful, unconditional love in Pisces, yet it's that energy of just going to sleep. I've been feeling that lately the end of the day when it's dark and I get tired and I'm going into bed and I could just shut everything off and let go for the day and leave it until the next day. That's that Piscean, Neptunian letting go feeling. There is both letting go in Pisces and Neptune energy, as well as Scorpio and Pluto. But the difference is that Neptune and Pisces is more about acceptance, letting go. Just letting things be, unconditional love, and sometimes just letting go without actually processing and dealing. Whereas Scorpio brings us into the depths, as well as Pluto. It helps us take a deep psychological exploration of ourselves and other people. And then there's a purging, sometimes crying, whatever way that we release that energy best in our lives, sometimes just acknowledgement with the psychological process. And then it doesn't have as much power or grip or activation in our lives. There's a level of integration that's required in Scorpio. It's not as much about, it is a purging and letting go, but there's an important integration piece that we're not pushing away what is uncomfortable and shadowy and scary. We want to go into the underworld and make friends with it and bring it up into the light and realize that it doesn't have as much power as we thought, that we are empowered to make choices with that complexity of psychological being that we all embody. But at the same time, sometimes we just need to turn out that last light and cuddle up into our cozy beds and let it all go. So where is your balance in that? What is making you feel secure? What do you really value? And what is it that we can accept about the tumultuous, transformational, emotional depths of Scorpio that are a really important part of life? So take the time out that you need. What we thought we valued might leave. Something new can come in. And in the end, with a Taurus full moon, we're going to feel more stable, secure. We're going to value ourselves and we're going to allow pleasure into our lives. This is not all about Scorpio purging and Pluto work. This is about that sense of security and finding it amongst the wildness. This moon has so many activations. Those are the main things to keep in mind. Thank you so much for being here and checking out this video. If you would like to process with your personal chart, these general readings can be helpful if you're feeling really intuitively connected to what's going on in your personal world. But a personal chart reading can really point out what you are going through that can sometimes be radically different than a general reading. I will link my booking site in the description below. It is so much fun chatting with you in the comments, seeing you there, hearing what's going on in personal lives. It really feeds energy into these videos and helps that connection piece. Have a wonderful full moon. And now let's get into your sign. Hi, Cancer. This is an 11th house full moon for you. So on the 11th and 5th house axis, this is about an illumination of what matters to you with community, connection, intuition, and what's stirring up in your ability to fully express yourself in a creative way. Dating, romance, play, all these 5th house topics, children. This is the house of joy. What is it about your joy that is entangled or limited with scorpionic type topics? What are you afraid of when it comes to full expression, especially with regard to community? Your values around the networks and community that you have are really important, and your self role in those networks. The ruler of this moon, Venus, is in your 4th house of Libra. So your inner world, based on how you were raised by your family, the things that you inherited from your family lineage. This could be your actual home. There are layers here that are going to have messages about what matters to you in connection, what matters to you with using your intuition, and more so out in the world in the 11th house. Because Cancer, the 4th house is your house where Venus is. And you embody this ability to have an intuition about self and home and nurturing and compassion. You do all these things for yourself really well. But it's often at home. It's often when you're tucked away. And this is different for everyone's personal chart. But how do you find that out in your community? Saturn and Neptune in your ninth house for the final transit are going over any fog or any tendency to over-idealize and accept maybe overly certain information and knowledge or ways of being in the world. This can have to do with actual travel with these planets in your ninth house, Neptune and Saturn. But at an energetic level, it is about how you bring your intuition into the knowledge that you teach, that you receive from other people. You are going through this amplification process with Jupiter in your first house, and it's about to go retrograde, so you're getting a little bit of a break, which I think Cancers out there are really going to enjoy this Jupiter retrograde. There's only so much expansion that's comfortable with Jupiter in your first house. And this is a time where you can go inward and reflect on more of what is changing in your life. And these are where the pieces are going to come together because Jupiter is in trine to Neptune and Saturn in your ninth house. So what are you putting out there as far as the knowledge and wisdom that you have? How do you share some of the expansion that you've been going through since June? How do you now fit with your networks and communities now that you have been going through all these Jupiter changes? This is a big deal. It's a once in a 12-year cycle, and it's going to change so many aspects of who you are out in the world when Jupiter transits your first house. Lots of blessings. So regardless of what comes up in this video, you could be having a very blessed year. Some of you could be having children because this is such a fertile energy with Jupiter in your first house and the sun now in your fifth house. Pluto in your eighth is a deep dive around these scorpionic topics, transforming your psychology. When Mercury retrogrades back into Scorpio in your fifth house, shortly after this full moon on November 11th until December 1st, and really doesn't gain momentum again until December 11th, you are going to revisit this psychological transformation that needs to happen to continue this Jupiter transit of growth and expansion. And that's the part that fits with nature. We can't keep growing and expanding without some decay and release of self. In the eighth house, it's going to be your psychology, psychological reversals, intimacy, deep bonds, how you merge with other people, how you share resources with important people in your life. And this is about cycles of energy. We cannot always grow and expand without the shrinking and dying off. We cannot continue to live unless we have some sort of momentum in cycles, which is transformation and release. And so you might be feeling this more heavily at this full moon. And there's going to be an element, because it's Taurus, what makes you feel valued in community? What is it that you value about yourself as you're going through these changes? What is it that you can release from your eighth house of psychology? What is it that you can release and then expand more now that Pluto is direct in Aquarius? And Aquarius is the 11th house energy. So it's dispersed, it's a network, it's very social, it's divine intuition. And I think a lot of Cancers are going through that, where you have a strong intuitive ability, but you are expanding that even more as you go through this Jupiter transit. And your community needs to match. You need to feel strong about your values in order to choose the right community and networks. And there will be people that you connect with the ways that you view your world, your intellect, your psychological intellect, which is vast when it comes to Cancer people, and your ability to take in more wisdom, share more wisdom from an intuitive, connected to all things place. And this doesn't have to be, with the ninth house, sometimes it's interchanging wisdom with other people, which it could show up that way in a practical sense. But because Pisces is this ruler, for you, the focus is more on what are you tapping into of source and the energy all around you? This is really big stuff, Cancer. I would love to hear how this is showing up for you in the comments below, because this is such big growth. This could feel heavy at times, but I think compared to other signs, you are in your stride with going through this expansion. You are a water sign, so this moon is at a lovely angle to Cancer, and you can handle these elements really well. You have that fluid capacity to go with it. Either way, I hope this moon is going really well for you. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time. Leo, this full moon is in your 10th house. This is one of the angles. This is a big one for you. The 10th house can talk about status, reputation, career changes. Wonderful moon for being recognized for the things that you value about yourself. What you value in career and reputation could change, and status. If you have been holding on to things that don't quite fit, you're just maybe not even fully looking at the things that you value when it comes to career and status and reputation. Sometimes we just go about these things without putting a whole lot of thought into it. Where the sun is in your 4th house of Scorpio, you're going to be looking to your family lineage for what's stirring up your psychology around these more public 10th house energies. What is stirring up in your inner world that's helping your career? And there could be tension when it shows up in the 4th and 10th house, because this is in square to your sign. This can be a challenging angle, especially for those of you that are around 10 to 20 degrees of Leo ascendant, sun, moon, or rising, or any other important placements. This doesn't mean that it has to be tough, but it means that there will be a more apparent change in your world that contributes to some of this shifting in your career, reputation, what you have to offer the world, what you share with the public. Neptune and Saturn are in your 8th house for their final transit in Pisces. This is being amplified by Jupiter right now with a trine, a good angle, but this is big psychological work for you. Jupiter in your 12th house is about Piscean-like topics: meditation, rest, retreat, unconditional love, paying attention to what is in the energy and all around you as source, and how you're using that source energy in your life, especially because of the 10th house activation. But the 8th house is the Scorpionic house. This is your psychological transformation, intimate merging with other people, which often highlights a psychological piece for us to look at, for us to move through. That's the thing with fitting with other people when it comes to intimacy in the 8th house, is that in order to merge, we need to look at the energetic imprints that are merging. We do that in astrology with synastry and other ways that you can tell when intimate bonds are working. And it's often a psychological merging. There's a psychological imprint, and there needs to be a match or some sort of puzzle piece fitting together. And through that, we highlight each other's psyche, and we are able to do more psychological exploration ourselves. So you have these two houses that are very energetic, intuitive. They're going to be going through the watery realms of what it means to be both an energetic person and a human person in this world. The ruler of this moon is Venus in your 3rd house. So you're focusing on writing and communication and how you can bring these big psychological, energetic topics into words. How you can do it in a way that is beautiful and well received. And you could just be refining your communication in general, and that's helping your public image. You could be working on more writing, and that's going out into the world at this time, and you're having a release and you're more on display for others to see what you've been working on. Mars and Mercury in your 5th house, in opposition to Uranus, this is communication maybe from online, that can be surprising, expansive. You could be releasing something online yourself, especially with your creative work in some way. This is another element with Mars and Mercury in your fifth house where you're motivated to creatively express. This is the classic house for Leo. So this is you. You are passionate about being seen and being a creative, joyful, playful individual that has a place and purpose in this world just for being a creative being. Uranus in the 11th house is amping that up, maybe with an element of tension, to show you that you can put that out in the world. You have divine insight and intellect that needs to be seen. Maybe something about being seen is activating more of this divine intuitive connection to what you want to share in a more public audience realm. This could be your social networks, community, people that you work with when you have Uranus in the 11th house alongside a 10th house full moon in Taurus, because these are very public houses. This is your reputation and your image and your audience and your networks and the people who are receiving that information. If you do experience some sort of opposing force of where you want your audience to be, who you want to be seeing, who you really are, that is just an element right now that's going to help you bring even more of your own energy to the table. And it's going to be likely channeled from some sort of more energetic, divinely guided place with this 11th house Uranus activation. Then you have Mercury go back into Scorpio in your fourth house. This is going to be revisiting any family stuff, any home-related stuff that's coming up. This can be your inner world, your psychology based on the family that you were raised in, your family lineage, and how you have adopted and integrated some of the energetic imprints from them. This is all really motivating more authenticity out in the public for you. Status changes, leadership roles. You could be recognized more because you're doing this authenticity recalibrating, and you're doing it from a place of tapping into more expansive energy to channel that through your creativity and channel that through yourself. Pluto in your partnership house is where you're going to be doing the transformational element. This is wonderful energy with this Mars and Mercury in your fifth house and tension to an opposition to Uranus in your 11th. It's that's going to be feeding this Pluto transformation in your partnerships. So you're more clear on what's authentic for you. You're more clear on your communities and networks. And there's something about how you operate in your personal relationships that's going to go through a transformational cycle as a result. There could be a purging and a releasing, but yet an expansion, ultimately, of feeling more connected to what matters, more seen, more authentically you, and more innovative, radical ways of approaching your relationships. This Scorpio season is about releasing anything from your family upbringing that is still having an effect on significant partnerships in your life, whether that's work, contracts, relationship, personal relationship, marriages. Those significant partnerships are getting a boost right now. Pluto is direct. You've done some work since Pluto was retrograde for several months on looking more on the inside for what partnerships mean to you. And now things are going into more forward action with Pluto direct. Communication is looking really good. You're feeling good about being able to express your energy, be seen in the world. This is wonderful energy if you have presentations to do, if you have important work, culminations coming up. This could, for some of you, be an ending or reaching a culminating point with some type of work that you're doing. And that can just be a new level, getting a promotion, getting something new out into the world. And maybe for some, letting go of something in order to make room for what's next. When it comes to career and your public sphere, and if it's letting go, it's because it no longer resonates with what really matters to you at a more authentic level. But for many of you, you're getting so solid on who you are, what you want your relationships to be, that your status and public image is representing that now. I would love to hear how this is going for Leos. There's so much going on. A 10th house full moon is going to be a big one for a lot of you. Enjoy this moment. Enjoy this success that you've reached and this new authentic place in yourself that you've been working on. Your relationships and other parts of your life are showing the benefits and the forward motion. Have a wonderful Taurus full moon, and I will see you next time. Hi, Virgo. This is a 9th house full moon for you in Taurus. So this is all about your perspective of the world, your mindset. This is inadvertently a very psychological full moon for you because the sun is in Scorpio in your 3rd house. And that's going to be an extra focus and illumination in the 3rd house of the way you use your mind, the psychological transformations that are going on, the way you use your psychological depths to create a framework in the 9th house, the opposing sign to the 3rd, where the moon is, of what really matters to you with the wisdom that you're gathering. What can you put to good use? What's very purposeful and what aligns with your values mostly when it comes to Taurus. You're going to notice that certain psychological habits are not getting you anywhere, not helping you create security, not helping you create the pleasure that you want to experience in life, generally not helping, or you'll notice the thoughts that are helping experience things in a way that is very Taurus-like, very Venusian. And that's your goal with Taurus ruling the 9th house. What feels secure and wonderful? How do you enjoy the earthly pleasures of life? How do you dive into wisdom of the world and your experiences in a way that fit these values? And because we're talking about a full moon and an opposition, the 3rd house, scorpionic, transformational, daily mind, daily habits, your writing, creative work that you do through mediums of media or media that you take in is one that I always like to bring up because it's what we feed our mind in the 3rd house that is part of these daily habits and cycles that can either really help us get to where we want, help us feel understood by others, or can create limitations in any of those parts of life. There's also a lot of intentional fogginess and potentially illusion or a tendency to indulge in escapism with others. Lots of variations for how this can show up for Virgos. But Neptune and Saturn back in your 7th house, both in retrograde, Mercury retrograde coming up shortly after this full moon and up until the end of November. It's the beginning of December from the 10th and moving into the later part of December that more clarity and the very final days of these transits show up. For Virgos, this fogginess with other people, maybe showing up in situations, this is part of the alignment of your mental space for this full moon. When we're feeling lost and a bit more chaotic, we have to lean on ourselves. We have to lean on the health of our daily mental habits, how we handle stress and confusion, how we handle uncertainty with other people. And we need an even more expansive framework of the Taurus 9th house as far as a bigger picture of where this wisdom has purpose. And it's okay if right now you don't feel like there is clarity. That is part of the exercise of knowing that we can handle these distortions. Knowing that we can handle these distortions and be okay with confusion. Be okay with moments where the world doesn't seem to be moving in a forward direction. Where moments of clarity get thwarted and we think that we're on the right path, but something gets thrown up and disturbed and we realize we have options with chaos. We can completely turn away from a lack of understanding. We can try to find more understanding. We can also find a place where we're okay with not understanding in the moment and knowing that in some future time, we might have a better clarity. But in the moment, we just do the best we can to make sense of the facts, accept them, create the best mental mapping that we can, but really know and trust that we have an ability to be secure despite the circumstances going on around us. And that's what Taurus in the 9th house is going to teach you at the time of this full moon. Mars and Mercury in your 4th house, in opposition to Uranus in your 10th, something unexpected can come through with career. This can feel like a tower moment. This could feel shattering and changing with something work-related, status-related, how people see you in the world. It could be coming from home. You could be feeling more amped up about creating changes at home. But a lot of Virgos, Mars conjunct your ruler, Mercury in the 4th house, is about your inner feelings of home. And that's part of this disorganization that's happening in Pisces, is that when the world around us is feeling disorganized, the goal is also to find more clarity in yourself. And this is about eliminating noise from family, maybe your home and surroundings, upbringing, and figuring out what really matters to you to take with you from home-related matters. What are you taking with you that your family has passed on to you? The topic that all of this energy is going to keep coming back to is, what do you value? Venus is still in your 2nd house. That's the ruler of this Taurus full moon that has to do with values. The 2nd house has to do with values, your self-worth. And when you're really clear on what you value, your inner world reflects that with Mars and Mercury in your 4th house. You're going to attract out in the world in the 9th and 10th house, where Uranus and this full moon is being illuminated, what is a match to that inner vibration. Mercury is going to retrograde back into your 3rd house of Scorpio. And this is going to bring even more psychological reassessment, acknowledgement, figuring out what's functional at a psychological level and figuring out what's not. That's going to be a big part of November. It's a wonderful time to write. So if you want to put whatever you're going through down with paper and pen, or typing it out, even sending it out into the world with your media, that could be a part of Uranus retrograding now back into Taurus and your 9th house soon. So there are a lot of planets that are emphasizing this 3rd and 9th house axis, this mental space, the wisdom that you have gathered. Virgos have so much of that to share with the world. So the 9th house could be putting together teaching material with the 3rd and 9th house full moon. And when Uranus goes back into your 10th house next year, then that could be a time where you're more recognized for this material. But now's the time to focus on it. If you have been working on a project, Mercury retrograde is a wonderful time to go back over old writing, old media, teaching projects for you, with Mercury going into your 3rd house, which will oppose any placements you have in the 9th house where this full moon currently is. You're being shown, Virgo, even if things feel foggy for one more month with these retrogrades of Neptune, Saturn in Pisces, and Mercury, it's a wonderful time to take it slow, be okay with fogginess, focus on what you value, focus on your mental space, write down anything you feel called to when it comes to psychology, your own mind, your curiosities, whether this is just for yourself or something that you want to share with the world. Take this month to do that. As always, would love to hear how this is showing up for Virgos. And if you're feeling the confusion, just be patient with yourself on that one. It can be a tough place for Virgos to be. If you want to process more with your personal chart, I will link that in the description below. It's so much more helpful to get the clarity of what's really going on in your chart. It can be vastly different than these general readings. But thank you so much for being here, checking out this video. Have a wonderful full moon, and I will see you next time. Hi, Libra. This full moon is in your 8th house. So this is all about your psychological transformation, shared resources with others. This can be taxes and debts and investments, and it's a financial house. And on this axis of 2nd and 8th house, this is Also, where the sun is in Scorpio, your self-worth, your energy, your assets, what you prioritize when it comes to your energy and how you spend your money, what you prioritize with what you ingest and how you nourish your body. And when the second house stuff is taken care of, the eighth house stuff really lights up. That being said, we have the eighth house, which is typically the house of Scorpio and Pluto, transformations, sudden reversals. Second house for you is Scorpio, and that's the same. So you're going through a transformational process. It can be an upheaval of some kind. It can feel financial. It can feel energetic. It can feel like it involves other people. When it comes to a full moon, we want to look at what is being reflected into the situation where the moon is from the sun. So what it is about your own energy management and food and money and self-worth. What is it about that is reflecting into your energy of the eighth house with merging with other people on those topics? And there will be an element of understanding your psychology at a deep level. And even if you don't, this can be a moment where there's a sudden transformation that happens and you just go through it. Pluto is in your fifth house, and it is aspecting Mars and Mercury in your third in this opposition with Uranus in your ninth. Communication, knowledge, being unique, offering something different and radical and innovative is going through a transformation when it comes to your creative self-expression. And I really want to emphasize Pluto in the fifth house for you because of these scorpionic topics. This is an energy where Pluto is in nice alignment with this otherwise tense Mars, Mercury, Uranus piece of the sky. And that tells me that you're going through a time where you're creatively expressing in a way that's more radical, more unique. It's really helpful to others when you get in touch with this part of yourself. So even though you have a full moon in this part of the sky that has to do with merging with other people, it really looks like your mental space and your personal energy is really being called in right now. With Mars and Mercury in your third house, creating tension to Uranus in your ninth house, it's through your communication that radical new ideas and wisdom can come through. Intuitive wisdom can be part of this process, and it's not always comfortable to go against the grain. Mars and Mercury can do that, especially in Sagittarius. With Mars and Mercury in Sagittarius, you're expanding your ability to speak up about your wisdom, the knowledge that you have. And an opposition to Uranus means that it might not be the same wisdom that aligns with other people easily. Because Sagittarius is a teacher and a leader. Uranus is an energy that's outside of the crowd. Whatever it is that you're trying to express and get out there might feel like friction, but it is only friction until other people catch up. One of the things you have really working for you is your ruler Venus is still in your sign, and you are coming across diplomatic, all the best Libra qualities, peaceful, you have the right words to use. People are seeing you in a really good light. But with the words Mars and Mercury together in your third house of Sag, there is some abrupt energy there. There are some tough calls that you might need to make that align with what really matters to you, with getting more divinely inspired and in alignment with some of that divine inspiration. There could be trauma around your wisdom, teaching and sharing that wisdom that doesn't always feel good to a Libra when you can't be in synergy with other people when it comes to your ideas and your communication. But you're being called to express who you are in an authentic way, no matter what. This could have to do with work, routines. There could be some fogginess in your sixth house of health. This is one last stretch for November while we have these planets retrograde, Neptune and Saturn in your sixth house. And it will get clear in December. You will get even more clarity come next year. Going into the Piscean realm in your sixth house, it can feel so directionless and uncomfortable. And it's when we're in that space that we find acceptance in that disorganization. We find new ways to bring order to something that was confusing and unclear. We find unconditional love for the daily habits and routines that feel mundane and that maybe we would rather avoid, maybe we would rather not do, just to keep in this harmonious Libran lovely flow. So with all of this energy playing out, this can feel confusing, overwhelming, challenging for communication. Mercury goes retrograde shortly after this full moon into your second house. The confusion is going to help you be in alignment more strongly with your values and your self-worth. You're going to go through a cycle where your creative self-expression, your children, your ability to play and have fun with Pluto in the fifth house is going to take on new radical forms and is going to align with your perspectives, your views of the world, your spiritual habits. There could be some revision of spiritual practices with Uranus retro in your ninth house, about to go back into your eighth house. So you're finding that there's, again, this, where this eighth house full moon is, this psychological transformation, Phoenix rising from the ashes type of energy that needs to happen. We need to sometimes go into those depths and those fears to merge better with others, to have stronger spiritual beliefs and habits, more refined and intuitively guided practices for our spiritual beliefs, but also for the things that we teach. So if you are someone who teaches, when Uranus goes back into Gemini next year, you can bring even more to the table with your intuition, but with something that's new and really important to help create something different in the world than what's been done before. Lean into some of this fog right now, Libra. Do your best to focus on your communication, your psychological transformations, and enjoy Venus in your sign. This is a time where you might have purchased new clothing, got a haircut, and feeling good about yourself. And that's an energy to lean on right now. Take your time with this psychological eighth house stuff. And I hope it's going really well for you. Would love to hear about that in the comments if you feel like sharing. But thank you so much for being here. And if you would like to check out more information with your personal chart, I will link my booking link for Zoom calls there. Have a wonderful full moon, and I will see you next time. Happy birthday to Scorpios out there. This is your season. And this full moon is in your seventh house of partnerships, and the sun is in your sign. This is a time where what you value in relationships and with other people is highlighted. For Scorpio, it is important for you to have people that you can count on that are solid and stable. And there's financial security with Taurus. There's a self-worth that you love and admire with others that you're close to, whether that's work relationships, marriage, other contracted, connected partnerships. These are karmic relationships that offer a sense of stability to you. You're someone who is open to change, and sometimes there's a lot of fear to deal with as a Scorpio for this constant openness to the deep underworlds of our psychology, yourself and with others. So the stabilizing factor from having Taurus in your seventh house is a wonderful thing to lean on. Someone could come into your life, or relationships could shift or reach new levels of merging on what you value, finding that sense of stability in another person. The ruler of this moon, Venus, is in your 12th house. It's soon going to be in your sign. The 12th house transit for the ruler of this moon is something that you didn't see. This could be a revelation in relationships, something coming to the surface that was hidden. This could be more time alone with your partner, time of rest, time of getting into some spiritual and meditative practices with someone else. When Venus moves into your sign, there's going to be more of a focus on the beauty and peace and security that you have to offer the world. This is a time when you're seen in a great light. Mercury is going to be retrograde for November while Venus is touring your sign. So it's not as ideal of a time to make big purchases or big changes to your image, but you're still going to be feeling those beautiful Venusian effects. And it is a great time to focus on your relationships around this moon and for the days to follow. Mercury and Mars are in your second house in opposition to Uranus in your eighth house. So topics of money are coming up. When Mercury starts to go retrograde, you're going to go back over some of these topics of your self-worth and what you value is going to be highlighted once again. But then it's going to go into your sign, and it's going to be really about you, what you offer the world, what you offer yourself. The way that you communicate, this is a great time for going over old writing projects, especially if they have to do with Scorpio type topics like psychology and transformation in life. This is a time where you could be taking in more media that helps you recalibrate what it is that you value around communication. And likely this topic of relationships will continue. Having conversations during Mercury retrograde can bring up old conversations that you've had before. You could be revising the way that you address some of this stuff, and very likely a connection to those that are really important to you and how you balance and merge energy with other people. When it comes to the opposition with Uranus, with Mars and Mercury, unexpected financial changes with resources that you share with other people could be part of the topics, but this can be just more radical psychological shift for yourself. And then the reprogramming of how you communicate comes along with that. One last transit of Saturn and Neptune in your fifth house. This has been a long journey. Scorpios have been focusing on creative self-expression, children, hobbies, fun, what it is that you value when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to the Neptunian, Piscean cosmic womb and that energy of creation. You've been so tapped into that, and Saturn is helping you make sense of it, put it into concrete form of some kind if you are in any kind of creative process. Your children could be very creative beings if you have children. They could be very Piscean-like, and you are working with them to figure out how to manage that, to bring structure to that ability to connect with vast energy in this world. So whether it's yourself or your children, there could be a lot more fogginess in November. And that lack of clarity is something that's going to help you get more clarity in the end. It's when we're sorting through the fog that we, one, let go of some of the grip that we try to have on that which is completely intangible, or we work so hard at it with Saturn there that we do figure out how to make sense of things. As Mercury goes retrograde, it's going to conjoin with Venus on November 25th. I think that this Venusian energy for you is one that is really bringing beauty to the words. And that's why I keep talking about this focus on communication for you, this focus on relationship communication and what matters in communication. And you're really refining this. And it's part of your creative self-expression with the transits going on in your fifth house of Pisces. Our words and our mind are our best ways of expressing ourselves. And that's certainly showing up for you. What you value in home could completely be transforming. You can have unexpected changes that are going on there that transform home and family in a really positive way. That's the connection with Uranus and Pluto, Mars and Mercury as well. So even if things don't feel like they're making sense in the moment, there's a bigger process going on with all of these parts of your chart. For everyone, there is a lot lit up at this full moon. For you, partnerships are a big theme, beginning, ending, more likely reaching a new level, a new space in your life. And you've been working towards that maybe even in a subconscious way while Venus has been transiting your 12th house. Wait until December to see how this all plays out, and give yourself November to spend more time going back over the stuff you've already been working on with Mercury retrograde. If you have been trying to get something creative out into the world, your self-worth and the assets that you have at your disposal are going through some shifts, and that could be why there have felt like there have been delays in getting this out. But what it really is getting all of the pieces in play so that when you do get out whatever it is in your 5th house of creative self-expression, it's coming from an internal place of having a lot of value on what you have to offer and seeing that really clearly so that it aligns with this part of yourself. Saturn will be direct on November 27th. Neptune will be direct on December 10th. Mercury will be back to full speed by December 11th. So this is going to be the period of more forward momentum. And in the meantime, I hope that you enjoy going back over some of these last details. Give yourself lots of space to do it, and don't worry if it doesn't feel like you're not moving forward. It's part of the plan. Do your launches in December if you can and beyond. And I'm here if you want to do a one-on-one Zoom call. It's so much fun chatting with you there. I will link that in the description below, and would love to hear from you in the comments if you feel called to that. But thank you for being here, hanging out for this video, and have a wonderful full moon. I'll see you next time. Hey Sag, this is the 6th house full moon for you. So this is all about your work, your routines, your health, your habits. How is your day-to-day going? How do you get things done in a way that feels stable, steady, secure? With Taurus being the ruler of this house, you like to just slow and steady, one foot in front of the other. You get tasks done. It's a really successful energy to have. It's wonderful for health. Taurus is one of the more resilient signs when it comes to having wobbles with health or with routine. The sun is in your 12th house of Scorpio, and this is an element of exposing where you need to rest. If you've been going too hard with your Taurus, working towards your values and being in alignment with success and moving forward in the world, where is it that you might need to do some psychological transformational work? This is just going to help you be more productive. It's going to help you feel more stable, steady, healthy in your routines. But it's also important to rest, and it's important to pay attention to the psychological undertones of our minds, of our energy. It's what's running in the background. Mars and Mercury in your sign could be making you feel fiery and passionate, and your communication could be more heightened, more impatient, and wanting to get yourself across to other people. There's an unusual element with Uranus in Gemini in your partnership house where you're breaking through old patterns, you're trying new things, you're trying out new ideas, and you're going to be feeling really excited and passionate to do that. That could be part of what's creating more intuitive, psychological outbursts with the sun in your 12th house. And it's through partnerships and this zazzed up part of yourself with Mars and Mercury in your sign that is somehow creating illumination in your health and work and routine. Shortly after this full moon, Mercury is going to go retrograde in your 12th house, and it's going to be even more about tuning in to the energy of things before you take action. And this is going to be a slower month of November where Neptune is retrograde, Saturn is retrograde. This is happening in your 4th house, your internal world, your home, your family, where you came from, the things that were passed down to you through your family lineage. And Pisces is the classic position of the 12th house. So there's some overlap in themes here where you're going into the energetic realms to do any kind of transformational work. This is going to really make your relationships different than they were before. You could be feeling when Uranus goes back into your 7th house next year after this retrograde back into Taurus, It's through revolutionizing your work and your health, your day-to-day tasks, that you might start feeling like you want to make radical changes in your relationships, especially those of you who have been in long-term relationships. Uranus through your 7th house can do that, especially when you have just reworked your skill set and your day-to-day routines. Your partners need to line up with that. So where is it that you're finding new middle ground? And the secret's going to be where this full moon is in your 6th house. You want to find health routines that match up with your partnerships. You want to find work ethic and mindset that line up with your partnerships. You want to feel steady and stable in this part of your life yourself, and that has to reflect in other people. And whatever it is you're reorganizing from home and family and the way you were brought up, that is a key element to moving forward in partnerships, gaining more intuition, leaning on your intuitive knowledge more. Come December, the end of November, when more of these planets are moving direct, especially after December 10th, Mercury will be full steam by December 11th. Neptune will be direct December 10th, Saturn November 27th. So you could find that you actually have more clarity in your 4th house of home and family until December 10th while Neptune is retrograde. There will be hints anyway, but the forward movement is really going to come mid-December. So take this time to rest if you can. The sun in your 12th house can be a time where that's really necessary because your birthday season's coming up. You're going to be remodeling yourself this year, and you're doing this with these planets retrograde, depending on if you're an early born Sag or later. At the time of this full moon, you could even be feeling a lot of contradictory energy with Mars in your sign, Mercury going retrograde. This is when physically you have a lot of momentum. You're feeling impatient with Mars in your sign. You're feeling motivated and ready to just shoot out of the gate. With Mercury retrograde in your 12th house, there are very likely some pieces that you're not seeing, and you're gathering some of that information in November. With Mars in the 1st house, it's a wonderful time to take on new activity and new physical activity. Also, be careful of the speed that you're moving at and slow down. This can be just even small accidents. I tend to cut my fingers more when Mars is in the 1st house. And part of that will be this intuitive information that wants to come through. Likely more sorting out of your communication with Pluto in your 3rd house. And the last final reorganization of home, family life, your inner world, your actual home. If you're looking to move, mid-December and onward is a wonderful time, but now you can gather all of the information, gather paperwork, get things in order if you want to make something change sooner. During a Mercury retrograde, making these changes, especially with Mercury retrograde in your 12th house, there likely will be something you don't see that comes up later. And I've moved during Mercury retrogrades. I've done other things during retrogrades. It's not a full stop. It's just a heads up that don't worry if it unfolds differently. It's still part of an important process. We're not meant to go in a direct, straightforward line sometimes. That's why these retrograde planets show up. We're meant to revise, revisit, go back over things. And it's sometimes in that revision that we end up gaining more momentum later on, more knowledge, more correction, and a deeper understanding of mind and written material that can really help us move forward. But 6th house is where this moon is. This is about your work and your health. You might get some epiphanies from an intuitive place with the sun in your 12th. Do take time to rest and deal with this Mars excitement in the best way that you can. Writing is certainly a good one for you, especially if it's going into your creative, intuitive space on your own and discovering more of what's inside, more of that scorpionic 12th house energy for you. And would love to hear what's going on for Sages. Let me know in the comments below if this sixth house and habits is really bringing some illumination from a intuitive place for you. And have a wonderful pre-birthday season. Thank you for hanging out for this video and a wonderful full moon. And I will see you next time. Hi, Capricorn. This is a fifth house full moon for you. So this is all about your creative self-expression, your children, your hobbies, dating, romance. But it all comes down to our authentic creative being in this world. What is really truly you? And that manifests in dating and in having children. They're expressions of ourselves in these processes. With Taurus being the ruler of this part of your chart, there's a slow and steady quality to the way that you tap into that authentic creative part of you. And as a Capricorn, that makes a lot of sense because you are a slow and steady earth sign, just like Taurus. Like Capricorn, Taurus has a lot of resilience and can really push through whatever they need to. But the Taurus energy is more about pleasure. It's more about enjoying life. And what element of your life is bringing you joy? Are relationships bringing you joy? You have Jupiter in the 7th house. Are you getting enough rest and intuitive guidance with Mars and Mercury in your 12th house right now? They're in tension with Uranus in your 6th. So there's something about rest and intuition that is affecting your health in unusual ways, that is revolutionizing your habits and the way you get things done. Your 3rd house of communication is going through its last big revamping with your ruler Saturn retrograde here and Neptune. And this retrograde period of your ruler is going to be heavily focused on communication, the energy behind communication. And that's another piece of Mercury and Mars in your 12th house. 12th house is the classic position for Pisces, which is the ruler of your 3rd house of communication. And Pisces is about the energy behind what we create. It is the energetic source of all things. There is unconditional love that can fuel everything we do if we choose to tap into that. Saturn will go direct on November 27th. That's your ruler. You will feel more energy at that point. And Mercury will be direct shortly after, then Neptune direct on December 10th. So it's the end of November into the middle of December where we're gaining momentum again, and you're going to feel your communication come back online, your writing moving forward. But these things, if you're working on writing, creative projects, media, this is a wonderful time to revise. This is a wonderful time to revise your audience while Mercury is retrograding in your 11th house too. It's going to go back into Scorpio there. If you are one of the people that is releasing material out into the world, the internet, any kind of community, you want to think about what your audience needs, what you can offer that's revolutionary and different. But all of this is going to come back to this Taurus full moon of what is in alignment with the deepest truth of your authenticity is going to matter the most to your audience. You're going to attract the people that align with you. But if you're trying to just do things because of a certain process, because it's pleasurable with the full moon in Taurus, or because it promises security, then you might find that it actually doesn't do those things when you realize that there's a missing piece of where you want to be, what's really you, and where you're going in life, where your connections are going with other people. This is going to come through intuitive ability with your daily mindset. You're going to be making daily choices and using your mind as a tool in a more intuitive way with Saturn and Neptune retrograde in your 3rd and moving forward for the very last time, for quite some time anyway. This is a big emphasis on values for you, Capricorn. Values in your career and your reputation, how you want to stand out to the world, how much you're leaning on your intuitive creative ability, how much you're leaning on unconditional love for the source energy that you can bring out into the world. And not just those disciplinary, structured, secure choices. You want both. You naturally will as a Capricorn. But underneath those choices that you're making for security, there's a lot more fun that could be had and a lot more pleasure that can be gained. And that's something that's really important for Capricorns, is to remember that work and pleasure can go together. Pleasure is a big part of life. Enjoying the things that we do and the foods that we eat, enjoying time with your children, and having the right words and mindset to carry that all through. With your ruler retrograde in your third house, you can be revising things around vehicles and neighborhoods, short distance travel, cousins, siblings, close relatives. And again, that forward momentum will be seen more in the middle of December. So hang in there. If you're feeling like things are a bit wonky for November, everyone's going to be feeling that. It's part of the process. It's part of sorting through what really matters at a Taurus full moon. And it's part of realigning with some of the basics that offer security and a lot more pleasure and fun. For you, Uranus in the sixth house is about to radically change your health, your daily habits, your routines. You're doing one more back step though with Uranus into Taurus in your fifth house. And that is going to again be this focus of what's really authentically you. And then your daily routines will change, your health will change. And you could even have some really radical, intuitive ideas on how to make those shifts in your life. The sun is in your 11th house, and that's something I haven't pointed out strongly enough, that your networks, your communities are a part of this story. They're important for how you have fun and how you creatively express. So whether that's an audience or members of a community that you're a part of, or just the internet searches that you do and what you expose yourself to in this world. You're going to be focusing on psychological topics here, psychological connection, and there's an opportunity for you to have your own psychological transformation happen within these systems and communities in your life. Ultimately, it is going to help you be more in alignment with whatever feels right for you, whatever feels authentic and stable and brings more pleasure in that fifth house full moon that we're having. I would love to hear how this is going for Capricorns. It's so much fun hearing from you in the comments and chatting with you for one-on-one Zoom calls. I will link that in the description below. And thank you so much for being here and hanging out for this video. I'll see you next time. Hi, Aquarius. This is a fourth house full moon for you. So this is all about your inner world, your home, your family, the place that you grew up, where you came from, what you have adopted from your family lineage. And what is it that needs to let go right now? What is it that needs to reach a new level with who you are, independent of your home and family? Or where is it that you're changing homes potentially? The sun in your 10th house is wonderful energy for being seen. If you have presentations to do or status changes going on, things to do out in the world, career changes, this is great motivation for that. You're really shining and being seen. But you're also, because of this publicity potentially, you're looking more at what's inside. And it's the reflection of you being out in the public that is helping you process this family stuff. What makes you feel secure? What makes you enjoy home and family? What makes you feel solid and enjoy the earthly pleasures of your home life? Of having a sacred space for yourself. Mercury and Mars are in your 11th house in opposition to Uranus in your 5th house. This is also great public image energy. Mercury's soon going to go retrograde, but Mars in your 11th house is motivating you to get out there, to network, to have an audience. And Uranus is your ruler. It's lighting up your 5th house of creative self-expression. It is retrograde, so you're going a bit more inward to figure out what's the next new radical step. What's the next new inspiration of what makes you so Aquarian, and how are you going to put that out into the world? There could be a lot of work coming up, a lot of routines, a lot of health healing with Jupiter in your 6th house. Jupiter will go retrograde on November 12th, and that's going to give you some time to process some of this growth and change. If there are habits that you've been wanting to adjust, that's a wonderful time. This whole retrograde period with Mercury retrograde and Jupiter retrograde in November, and Saturn and Neptune as well, especially in Pisces in the second house. That can also be about habits and what you value when it comes to the energy behind what you do. There could be some lack of clarity or even dissociation that happens in the Pisces part of our chart. And for you, that's the second house of assets and value and the energy that you share with the world. If you are an Aquarian who is dispersing your energy or your assets more than you want to, or you're having some realizations around changes you'd like to make there, this is wonderful energy to rework that for the very last time. Saturn will go direct November 27th, Neptune on December 10th, Mercury will be full speed by December 11th. So we have this big momentum that's really going to shoot forward in December. But right now, you want to go into more self-reflective mode over what matters to you with your values, your money, your energy, your creative self-expression, your fun, and how you put all of that into a routine and process in your daily life. Jupiter in your 6th house of Cancer there with routine and your process and day-to-day, there really needs to be a strong element of self-nurturing here. And if your motivations for what you get done during the day are coming from a more pushy place, that's where Saturn is reworking some of the behind the scenes shifting of energy that you can do to value yourself and value what you have to put out in the world from a nurturing, loving, compassionate place. Mercury is going to retrograde back into your 10th house and of Scorpio, and that's going to bring up more of the psychology around how you share your ideas in the public, what your career reputation and reputation in general is when it comes to communicating in a way that understands the psychological depths of yourself and others. And when you go into this place with Mercury, you're going to have more insight into your own creative self-expression, because we have this material existence, and Aquarians are so good at materializing something that's unique and inspired and radically different than the norm. So you're by nature a very creative energy. But if that's not grounded in connecting to the masses in Pisces or unconditional love for yourself and other people, it's not going to reach the same audience. It's not going to reach as many. It might feel like you're putting stuff out into the world and it falls flat. That could be Mars in the 11th house. There's this motivation in spurts to get it out there, but it needs something else behind it to gain that momentum. And that's what Saturn retro in your 2nd house is doing. It's revamping how you bring your values out in your projects and how you express that creatively. When you really tune into this Pisces part of your chart, you have ability with Pisces here to connect to the energy of all that is, to source energy, and that's part of your creative gifts. And so this is just one more layer of getting more deeply in tune with what matters to you, but what is also going to reach others from a place of compassion and love. And that's just an extra emphasis on that self-compassion for your routines and your health and the work that you do on a daily basis. When we do these things from a place of comfort and security, they also have more lasting power, and that's Cancer in your 6th house, rather than doing things with a burden or sense of duty. So for Aquarians, this is wonderful energy to tap into your creative essence. You're deeply transforming who you are. You're getting more intuitive knowledge, more radical ability to step into new inventive things. And this is a season where more people are watching you. You're being seen. Your audience could be expanding, especially in December. You're really dialing it in this month of November. And then come December, you're going to start to see where that's going a lot more clearly. But for now, this is a lot of internal work, and some of these areas that you can focus on in the process. If you would like to know more about your personal chart, check out my booking link in the description below. And so much fun chatting with you in the comments. If you feel like sharing some of what's been going on for you, I would love to hear it. But thank you for just being here, checking out this video, and I will see you next time. Hi, Pisces. This is the third house full moon for you. So this is all about communication. This is neighbors, cousins, siblings, and short distance travel. But mostly it is about communication. It is your daily mind. What is creating a sense of stability and security in your mindset? And what's not adding to that? For Pisces, this is a fixed part of your chart. So this is an area where the changes and adjustments are slow and steady. This full moon marks a moment where you're seeing something differently about what you value with communication and mental habits. It's coming through a teacher with the sun in the ninth house of Scorpio. You could have a therapist that sheds some light on how you're using your mind and media that you take in. What is really feeding a sense of safety in this world and a sense of pleasure? And what is adding to a bigger picture of your beliefs and higher purpose of knowledge in your ninth house? There will be elements of psychological transformation and what's psychologically healthy with the sun in Scorpio versus what feels safe, what feels secure, what feels pleasurable in the moment. You are going through your final chapter with Saturn in your sign, Neptune in your ruler in your sign. This is about you and how you work in the world, what you bring forth. This is your personality. And with Pisces, this is a sense of being very secure in what matters to you and creating situations in the world where you can contain your own energy at the same time being creative and tapped in to divine source as you are and so aware of energetic realms. And really what matters is what you're going to be taking away. So when you're tuned into everything like Pisces are, there is not a prioritization that happens in Pisces. It is everything all at once. With the sun in your ninth house of Scorpio, you're making prioritizations of what is more important in your psychology, what you can let go of for beliefs and ideas and concepts that are just muddling up being more useful in your third house. Like, what is it that you use on a daily basis? It's like decluttering for your mind and energy that makes your communication more clear, more sorted. Your community and short distance travel, that could be a piece of it, but at the brain, cerebral, functional reading, writing, storytelling, media, how you put things to use is what matters. So there has to be a filtering process of all of that energy that you're tuned into. It makes me think of photographers. Pisces is the energy that rules photography. And in the art of photography, you're choosing what the viewer looks at by your framing, by certain focuses, and even in the editing process by lightening and darkening certain areas. And that's what you're doing for yourself with this energy and this Taurus full moon. You're reaching a new level of dialing in a perfect image for your brain to function and focus on and be more effective in delivery and what matters. And this could be coming from career goals. You have Mars and Mercury in your 10th house, and Mercury is going to retrograde back into your 9th house shortly after this full moon. So anything that you have been overlooking with training or getting more information, reading, teaching yourself, if you are a teacher, that is, but maybe you're teaching yourself too, or maybe a teacher or a psychologist is coming into your life and you're refocusing on home and family, because that's what Mercury rules, is your 4th house and your 7th house. So you're revising partnerships, home and family, but really the wisdom that is in those relationships. the wisdom that you are and knowledge that you're gaining from partnerships or from the home that you live in or your family lineage. And that's going to shift your career when Mercury goes direct in December on December 1st, but it gains full speed December 11th. Saturn is direct on November 27th, and Neptune, your ruler, December 10th. So mid-December, you're going to be in a more forward action momentum phase. And right now you're gathering data, you're gathering belief systems, you're changing your mind on things. You're already feeling motivated with Mars in your 10th house. This is a great time to be seen, but you might not feel heard with Mercury going retrograde into your 9th, and you're going to have that in December. That's the piece that will follow and just needs some revision on probably articulation and the way that you get this mass amount of energy and inspiration into words through your cerebral system. And it could come from some retraining or some teachers around this time. This is a wonderfully creative time for Pisces. You have Jupiter in your 5th house. It's going to retrograde shortly after this full moon, but it is in trine to your ruler and Saturn together. So that's a wonderful, easy, expansive energy. And this is going to go more internally in your 5th house of creative self-expression. If you have children, it will apply to more of a process of connection with them. If it's your creative projects, you're going to be looking at what's really authentic to you and what really matters, what really brings you joy. And if it's dating or relationships, you could be going back over some of the elements that will later on expand once again when Jupiter goes direct, but you're looking more at your creative self-expression and what's authentic. And that's what matters in dating and relationships too, is how authentic both people are being in this merging and matching and even mirroring each other. You are in this greater eclipse season of self and other. So getting reflections back from other people is an important piece of however this is manifesting in your life. But communication and public visibility are big right now. You're finishing revising how you want to show up in the world. You're more authentic. You're connecting with yourself in ways and with others as a result that feel more fun and more real to you. And I think of that with Pisces too, that it can be sometimes hard to connect when people see the world very differently. And this vastness that Pisces have the capacity of, not everyone can see the world through the same lens, so to speak. And that is where you're starting to find new ways to connect and help people see what's going on for you. And that's what I love seeing from Pisces, when we get a little taste of what that Piscean vision of the world is like. So whatever your creative medium, whatever your expression is, media that you put out, it's really important that you dial that in as much as possible. And I would love to hear it. I would love to hear what's going on in the comments if you feel like sharing. It's always so much fun hearing from the Pisces out there and how this lines up. But thank you so much for just being here and hanging out for the video. If you want to book a reading with me, check out my Zoom link in the description below, and have a wonderful full moon. I'll see you next time. Hi, Aries. This full moon is in your 2nd house. So this is double Taurus for you. This is all about what you value, what brings you pleasure, the way that you nourish your body, the energy that you have at your disposal, your resources, how you manage them. And resources and finances go together. In astrology, they're all an energy representation of how much energy you have for yourself versus what you're leaking out into the world, what you're intentionally giving out into the world. And there will be elements of your self-worth derived into this. That's in alignment often with the things that we value in life. We want those to be aligned with what we believe we deserve. And that's how we manage our energy as well. If we truly believe that we deserve a lot coming to us, we will have connections to that and access to that. During the full moon, the sun is going to be in your 8th house, and that's shedding light on how you manage your own system, how you manage your 2nd house material assets and energetic possessions. The 3rd and 9th house is also lit up with Uranus in your 3rd house and Mars and Mercury conjoining in your 9th. This has a lot to do with mindset, belief systems, the knowledge that you have access to, and how you integrate that into something that's purposeful and meaningful in your life. If some of you are teachers or writers, then there could be unexpected stuff that comes up with your work in writing. There could be unexpected communication that happens that shifts your beliefs and perspective on life in some way. And it looks to me like it's this perspective shift that is going to be affecting your resources. In astrology, there always can be the physical manifestations of things. So you might have a type of asset shift. You might reach a new level with your investments. You might have shared resources come in because the sun is in your 8th house of shared resources. But it could just be energetic for some of you. There could be a psychological transformation that's happening as you change your beliefs and perspectives of the world. And that's going to shift how you manage yourself, how you view your self-worth, and how you nourish yourself. And this is all energy that comes in and goes out. Beyond that, you also have this last visit of Saturn and Neptune in your 12th house of Pisces. This adds an even bigger layer of energetic shifts and perspectives. For you, you have all of the spiritual, energetic houses lit up of your chart. They are all spiritual and energetic in some way. But the 12th house is the connection to source, the connection to unconditional love, meditation, intuition, time away from the world. And it's in this time away, this restful space, that we can connect more to the energetic realms. And this is also said to be the birthing place of what comes into material form, the cosmic womb, as they say. So what is it that's brewing for you at an energetic level? What are you changing at a psychological level that might be more apparent? What emotions are coming up during this Scorpio season with the sun in Scorpio? And how is that blocking or opening up space in your self-worth and what you value at this time? Pluto is in your 11th house of connections, and this is a deep transformational process of what networking and being connected means to you. Yet there's an ability to stay unique in this part of your life, stay authentic to yourself, and have connections that are meaningful, maybe even help you come into new awareness of radical ways you can shift your intentions and the world around you. That's with Pluto and Aquarius. And there's, for everyone, some purging that's being done of old trauma, old systems, and making room for something that could be more our utopian society, especially for you Aries with Neptune and Saturn in the 12th house. Neptune and Pisces, the 12th house, do somewhat represent this utopian society. And what is it that you're bringing into structure and slowing down that process so you can use your connection to source to do these psychological transformations? More intuition, maybe more time diving into your psyche this month with the sun in Scorpio. Regardless of your process, this full moon is going to benefit your self-worth, benefit your assets, your connections and networks could see a shift, especially if you're going through this psychological transformation piece. You might want more time to rest while Saturn and Neptune are in your 12th house. Saturn is direct November 27th. Neptune is direct December 10th. Mercury is retrograde shortly after this full moon and will be direct again December 11th. There is something that you are working up to this month that you're going to really see click into place come December. And I think for many of you, this will have to do with a sharper connection to your intuition, how to use it as a foundation with Saturn here, because that's truly what it's all about, is knowing that we have source energy to use, unconditional love to use at the core of everything we put into this world. For many, tapping into this source creates a lot of wonderful manifestations in life. It doesn't always mean that it is a straight line up into this utopian experience. More likely, it's going to involve these Plutonic and 8th house cycles, especially that you're in right now, where you're going through this cycle of transformation, and that can have its highs and lows. That can feel like you're going into the depths of a lot of emotion that you haven't tapped into in a while. But when you go through that and find anything that's been blocking your path from creating what you want, it's in December that this could open up and really move you in a whole new place. Mercury will also retrograde into your 8th house. So this is another layer of doing this psychological work this month in November. For Aries, I would definitely take the time if you can and set aside time, or just know that at certain moments, life situations might come to the surface and you might just have to take a time out and take time to process as they come up. Jupiter is about to go retrograde in your 4th house. So this is again about this internal family lineage work. This can be actual home. So if you've been expanding and changing your home, might be a welcomed rest where Jupiter goes retrograde and you get to slow down on some of that expansion. But for many, it will be more of this internal emotional processing. And with Jupiter being in charge of that in the 4th house, another water sign, that's where, again, you could feel a lot of emotion stirred up, and you're going to feel so much better for going through these processes. I would love to hear how Aries are doing out there. Let me know in the comments below if you feel like it, and if you would like to process with your personal chart that can be radically different than these general readings. I will link that booking link in the description below. But thank you so much for being here, checking out this video. Have a wonderful full moon, and I'll see you next time. Hi, Taurus. This is your full moon. So this can be a massive ending, new level reached in any part of your life. Something is coming to fruition. Something needs to be let go of. It could have to do with your body. It could have to do with partnerships, because the sun is in your 7th house of partnerships, and that's illuminating something about you that you want to change, that's ready to shift, that you're ready to let go of, that you're ready to level up. This is always a wonderful energy for new insights about yourself and how you are out in the world and who you want to be out in the world. Always with a Taurus full moon, this will be about your sense of stability and security in self. And regardless of what's going on with the sun in your 7th house of partnerships, you're feeling this renewed sense of you have the security that you need. You can nourish your body the way that you need and want to. You have the resources to enjoy what you want in life. And even if those are really simple things, Taurus is about simplicity. It's about being connected to the earth and flowers and gardens. And even if it's going into fall and winter where you are, there's an element of being connected to trees and nature in any capacity that you find you can. Mars and Mercury are in your 8th house, and they have gone into opposition with Uranus in your 2nd house. So resources are certainly on the table for topics. There could have been some unexpected shifts with your own energy, with your own resources, with something that you really valued. And there's a connection to merged resources, your own psychology. Something could be shifting and transforming in a psychological way for you, or resources that you share with another person could go through some shifts, maybe even unexpectedly. If this is testing your sense of security, this is going to help you see that you embody that energy no matter what's going on around you. There's a trust in Taurus that you can continue to build. You can count on yourself. You can put one foot in the front of the other in a steady and stable way and just keep going with whatever life tosses at you. You are one of the most resilient signs of the zodiac for that reason. And a lot of these aspects are happening in very lovely ways, in favorable shifts. It's just that Uranus is that unexpected curveball. And the design here with what's unexpected is that we lean on our intuition. We get resourceful with Uranus in the second house, and we figure out brand new ways of doing things, reorganizing what we value, and just shifting our perspective into one that might be more divinely inspired than what goes on in the material realm. Saturn and Neptune are doing their last transit through your 11th house of connections, networks, community. These are groups that you're a part of. This can be the internet. Any fog and confusion that's showing up right now is part of reorganizing the stability in you, in your own ability to create pleasurable experiences that match what you value, regardless of the communities that you're a part of. This is an area where you can tap into more source energy. So you might feel divinely inspired from being part of groups and networks right now. You might be part of spiritual groups that are helping you connect to your intuition and source energy, or just the circumstances that are surrounding your life are tuning you into bigger networks that are going on at an energetic level. And with Saturn here, you're restructuring these connections and networks, whether that's energetic or your actual communities. If you have an audience, you could notice a bit more confusion as to how to tune into them, how to connect, but that's part of the process of figuring out something new, something that has never been done before. And this ultimately will lead to a more sense of better connectedness in the world. Genius ideas can happen here too with Pisces in the 11th house and this last transit. Saturn will go direct on November 27th and Neptune will go direct on December 10th. Mercury will also be direct on December 11th in full power. It'll be direct on December 1st, but back to full speed around those dates too. So we have a lot of momentum building at the end of November. But right now with Mercury retrograde, this is going back over old psychological stuff. This is helping you align more with what you value and what really is authentic to you, because Mercury rules your second house and your fifth house. And this is your values, your possessions, the house of Taurus, your security, your sense of security. And it comes from being in touch with a true expression of self. Old art projects, old hobbies, old things with children, and the way that you derive joy and have fun in this world. These are all topics that could come up with Mercury retrograde. And they're going to be clues to go into the deeper psychology because Mercury is in your 8th house. So there will be physical stuff happening in the world for many people, but keep that in mind, that it's going back to the energy that connects all things, the energy that you connect to your communities and networks with, and the psychological process that you're doing for yourself as far as transforming where you have been and getting to a different place that feels more open to unconditional love and connected to your deeper intuition and energetic networks. Something might have to go with shared resources, and that could be part of what helps you realize how much you can really rely on yourself. Venus is touring your 6th house and is part of the story with Pluto. So things with work could show up with your daily tasks, the way that you derive pleasure out of getting things done every day and your responsibilities or your routines. There's something changing about your status related to this with Pluto in the 10th. And this is psychological purging as well. So things that you have attached to status as part of your value and your self-worth might shift. And there could be a connection to things that you get done every day that make you feel like you are valued, but might need some tweaking. Maybe there's more self-value regardless of what you get done during the day, regardless of your routines, and regardless of the perceived status or how other people view you. A lot of energetic realm stuff showing up for many people. It is Scorpio season after all, and you have extra 8th house scorpionic placements with Mercury and Mars here. So feeling more fiery about shared resources, but keep in mind that it's about your psychological connections and maybe with other people as well. And that has to come from a place of really being clear on what you value, but doing it from a place that feels authentically you and secure in yourself, and not needing this 8th house, other people's resources, or doing tasks and being of service to feed a sense of value in your life. You have that regardless, and this is a moment where you're tapping into that regardless of how the details are showing up in each of your lives. But I would still love to know how this is showing up for you. It's always so much fun reading the comments and chatting with you there. If you would like to process more with your personal chart, I will link my booking site in the description below. But thank you so much for checking out this video. Have a wonderful full moon. Happy Taurus full moon to you. I will see you next time. Hi, Gemini. This is a 12th house full moon for you. So this is something coming to light that you didn't necessarily see. This can be unseen realms. This can be fogginess getting clear. Though with all of these retrogrades, there could be an element where more clarity comes in December. So something even behind the scenes right now could be going on. But for many, this will be a time of illumination of your intuition. Really having solid security in being able to rely on this energetic knowledge that you have access to. There's something showing up in your daily routine, in health, in the 6th house matters, in habits, that is helping illuminate this more intuitive access to source energy that you have. That is so strong for Geminis with Taurus here. Taurus is a solid sign, a fixed sign. It's dependable. It derives pleasure and security in the world. And for you, that comes from 12th house, mystical, Piscean, intuitive, intangible sources. And it really fits with Uranus in your sign. This opposition from Mercury and Mars in your 7th house to Uranus in your sign could have created some tension in partnerships. Unexpected news could have come from you. There could be severing of partnerships with Mars here. There could be a motivation to have more challenging, unexpected conversations. And this is all about being very aligned with your connection to a higher power, to divine knowledge. You have so much knowledge at your disposal as a Gemini. You're curious, you're open-minded. You are a mutable sign, so you are easily adaptable to changes that come your way. And Uranus in your sign is going to be a big part of that. But there has been this back and forth, and it's one more last visit that Uranus is going back into Taurus and sparking up this 12th house intuitive zone for you again. So this full moon is one of those moments. You're going to have a little bit longer of an experience with Uranus here. From November 8th until April, that's when Uranus will dip back into Taurus in your 12th house. This is going to be a period in November where everyone's going more internally. Energetic work is being done, psychological focus, intuition is on high, and we're all tapping into a new way of using this energy in our daily lives. It's also unique to each of us. But for you, it's very strong in what you value in the metaphysical. How much value do you place on being able to tap into this energetic realm, and how do you bring it in to who you are as a person? That's going to start in April when Uranus goes back into your sign for its longer 8-year journey. Jupiter is continuing to bless your 2nd house, and this is amping up what you value. Again, these value topics are high. Your self-worth, how you spend your resources, more money and energy could be coming to you, maybe even in the form of support. It looks like for a lot of Geminis, though, this is career recognition. especially those of you who are in some sort of film, Piscean-like work, anything to do with energetic meditation, metaphysical work, but Pisces also rules film and photography. With Pisces in the 10th house, if none of these professions relate to you, there could be an element of not wanting to be seen in the public. Maybe even veering away from your inner authority and external authority and regulations in the world. There's a dissolving quality that's happening so that you are restructuring some of these feelings about authority and public image and the work you do in the world. Saturn here for the very last time. Saturn will be direct on November 27th in this part of your chart, and Neptune December 10th. And then Mercury will be going direct in your 6th house of work and routines and tasks and back into your 7th. So this work and routine element is really highlighted with Mercury retrograding into your 6th and Saturn and Neptune in your 10th for the last time. These are the two houses that relate to work and career and the things that we do throughout the day. If there have been things that have been hidden and foggy related to work, that's going to shift in December, but be patient in November while there's background workings, revisiting old topics around what you do on a day-to-day basis, your routines, your health. You might have to look back on some of these things, and there could be an element of psychological transformations, going through emotional eruptions, because this Mercury is retrograding in Scorpio in your 6th house. It's also your ruler. And when Mercury retrogrades, there is a stronger element of you, your body, your health, your connection to scorpionic depths of emotion. And Pisces is like that too, but it's a little bit more in the unconditional love, metaphysical realm of source energy that you have at your access. And for you, this is infused with leadership and your authority, your own authority, and how you deal with authority figures. So if you have a tendency to avoid these sort of structures and hierarchies and authority and leadership, there's going to be a shift there where you're starting to see that you can tap into something that makes this meaningful for you when it's connected to Piscean realms like source energy, like unconditional love, leading from those places and stepping into something that restructures what has been when it comes to authority and reputation in your life. Venus in your 5th house is coming into a square with Pluto in your 9th house. So Venus in your 5th house is the ruler of this full moon. It has to do with your values, your resources, children, your creative self-expression, what brings you joy, and your perspective is shifting with Pluto in your 9th. What you teach, what you believe, how you build your visions of the world. So there's something that's becoming more authentic about you. If it's derived by children, that could just be, or joy or creative hobbies, that could be the details in life that this is showing up. But it's going to be about aligning with what really matters with all of these topics that I'm bringing up. And that's what children can do. They help us align with an inner authority in ourselves in some ways, with what really truly matters in our joy, in our creative self-expression, which is what children are. And so there's a lot going on here. Your values are lit up with what matters to you as at a level of authenticity with children and with fun. Your mindset is changing. You're going through scorpionic purging with your routines and your health, as well as your perspectives in the world with Pluto here and the transformations of how you gather knowledge to use it in a purposeful way, whether that's teaching or just having a specific construct of how the world works and what matters to you with all of the knowledge that can be gathered. It's just jibble jabble until we put it into purposeful context, make sense of it for our lives. And that's what Geminis do so well. There's some aspect of your partnerships reflecting this. Conversations with your partners at the time of this full moon could be a piece of what's shifting your perspective. And there's going to be layers of transforming authority and career related stuff as well. It's really a mixed bag at the time of this full moon, so I would love to hear from Geminis on how this is showing up. It's always so much fun to chat with you in the comments and see you for Zoom calls. I will link that in the description below if you want to book one-on-one with me and hear more about how this is affecting your personal chart, especially for those Geminis where the Saturn, Neptune in your 10th house, even Mars and Mercury on your 7th house, you have these main axes lit up in your chart, and that can bring more significant external experiences to help process through some of the emotional shifts that are going on in the background. Thank you so much for just being here and checking out this video. Have a wonderful full moon, and I will see you next time.